Back here on Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com. We've been talking about, we always talk about what genres are thriving and which ones aren't doing very well right now. I think punk is still thriving. It's really never had a downtime. And some of the bands that have been around for years and just some of the best bands in punk. We had Authority Zero on recently, Strung Out, Banner Pilot, all these bands. And Versus the World is definitely one of those as well. I've been a fan of these guys for many years.
Rightfully so, yeah.
Absolutely. We happen to have Donald with us on the show right now. Donald, welcome to the big show.
Good morning, dudes.
How are you, man? I guess it is morning for you, yeah. But
yeah, it's 12:45. I got rad last night, so it's morning.
Nice. Well, so let's talk about Versus the World a little bit. A really kind of an amalgam of other bands. You know, you've got guys from the Ataris and Lagwagon in there. How did the band really come together? I know Mike formed it, but how did you come to be part of Versus the World?
Well, the way me and Mike started it was back when the Ataris were still in full swing.
Yeah.
They used to rehearse at a record store that I worked at. And as their schedules got busier, like Chris would go do solo stuff, and they would have to kind of rehearse without him. I would kind of stand in so that, like, they would have a singer for vocal cues.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started playing music that way. And then during his downtime, we started this is sort of a side project. And then, you know, everyone in town, me and Chris from Lagwagon, everyone, we just have known each other for years. We've drank together. We've partied together. We've all been in, like, the same scene for, you know, for our whole, like, pretty much like musical lives. So
okay.
It wasn't like it wasn't that big of a disconnect for us to be like, hey, maybe we should do this together.
Makes sense. It's, you know, I gotta say, Donald, it's a tough life you have out there, living in Santa Barbara, and you know, perfect weather all the time, and just drinking and playing great punk music. I need to get on that schedule.
Yeah, you got to, man. I grew up in Texas, and then I moved here.
Good call.
Like right out of high school, because I knew that I wasn't going to be in Texas. That wasn't going to be my deal.
Right.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would much rather be in California than here myself. Now, talk about the latest album you guys have, Drink, Sing, Live, Love, and what is the difference between this and your self-titled debut?
The self-titled one, well, I think that every band kind of talks about their new record like it's their favorite kid, and then like the old record is kind of like they still like it. It's like their step kid, you know? Like, oh, I love that kid, but it's kind of like my wife's kid kind of deal.
I like it. Okay.
But this one, I feel like I was a better songwriter when I started it. I feel like it's more well-rounded. The first record, we didn't have Chris Whippet in the band yet, and the way that he and I write together just makes, because I'm more of a songwriter than a guitar player, you know. So having an actual just guitar player that just thinks differently was really big for me. I've never worked with anyone like really just as talented as Chris. He's just insane. So I don't know. It was cool. It's like I had more tools.
Makes
kind
sense.
of the deal I had.
Okay.
So yeah, the record just came together so much easier because Chris, being in Lagwagon, he's made I don't know how many just gnarly records. The process when he would just come over to my house and then he would we would do pre-production together, and then like he was with me on every step. So I think he helped me a lot on this record.
And the website to check you guys out is Versus the World. Versus spelled out, by the way, not VS, but VERSUS, theworld.com. And of course, you can listen to some of the music on there and on Facebook. You've got Forgive Me, Ghost in the Bottle, and Is There No End? And Forgive Me, I listen to that song over and over again right now. I keep playing that, so I just love that track. They're all good. That one really, really hooks me. And again, these are the kinds of bands, Donald, that we have on the show that we're such fans of because you don't write one good song. Every song you write is quality, and you can listen to an entire album. Talk about how important that is in this day of, you know, digital buying, you know, where people buy like one song or two tracks or something like that. Talk about how important it is to you as the artist to have someone listen to an entire album that you put your heart and soul into.
Well, obviously that's important to to artists as a piece of work, but I think the good thing about like the punk rock community is that I don't think we're like a single buying, like we're not a genre that just buys singles because, you know, we're lucky enough that I think our genre is not filled with pop artists.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
so it's kind of cool because I think we're one of the few genres that still buys music. I mean, I know all my buddies
Right.
have a lot of vinyl, and
Yeah.
you know, like, and they still are buying physical music. But I mean, there's always that thing that people are just going to download your stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's just how it is now. So it's like you can't complain about it. You just got to do it, and you just have to make sure that every song and, like, every live show is awesome, because it's like if people aren't going to be buying the actual material, they're just going to come see you, which is I think my favorite way to see to get music is to see it.
Yeah. Experience it.
So
For
I think
sure.
that this kind of new genre, I mean, this new like evolution of music right now, just kind of makes the bands have to kill every night. You know?
What can we do to get some of the best bands in the world that aren't making the money? I don't know how I want to say this. I guess Colonel and I were talking earlier today, and some of the bands that we've had on the show that are great bands, but are still kind of small time, not household names, like this with the Apocalypse, playing a small club around us soon. But Pink is selling out the Verizon Center, which holds, I don't know, 70,000 people or something like that.
Yeah.
That world is upside down to me, and I understand that popular music is popular for the masses and that kind of thing, but what can we do to make sure bands like Versus the World and Alk Trio and some of those bands are
Getting the
making
money
the
they
big
deserve,
money,
yeah.
and not people that have other people write their songs for them, you know?
Yeah, I think
Fix
that's
it.
always, you know, that's always kind of a frustration. But and like again, like I guess I'm just super proud of punk rock, and you know how long that I've gotten to enjoy it. And I feel like a lot of punk rock musicians don't go into being in a band to be a superstar,
Right.
because I feel like when I grew up, you know, all of the bands that I was in love with, like when I grew up, my first show, you know, it was like Millencolin and Kid Tested and the U.S. Bombs, and these people were playing small clubs.
Yeah.
So I think that my idols were always kind of secrets, you know? I feel like, there's always, I mean, to support is always the best thing. And like, if you don't want to buy records, if that's not your thing, then, you know, to ensure that your band is able to keep going, then I would say see them at every opportunity you can,
And buy their
or
merch.
give that record to someone that you know hasn't heard it, you know?
Now, if I remember correctly, you guys are getting ready to come up in Australia on the Soundwave Festival. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're rehearsing right now. We're getting ready to go to Australia.
Dope.
What does it mean to be a part of such a big event? I mean, that's huge. I would absolutely fly to Australia to go to Soundwave one day.
I actually have a friend of mine that is flying out there.
Nice.
It's insane. It's like we're the smallest band on that tour by probably 5 million records. You know, it's insanely crazy. I think it's huge. I can't wait to go. Australia is kind of like Europe in the way that they're still very, very into punk rock music,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. Like pop music hasn't really, and you know, like taken over the scene down there. So
Right.
I think that I don't know. It's huge for us. It gives us I don't know, like validation. Like, okay, yeah, we're supposed to be doing this, and it kind of inspires us to like just keep going. 'Cause,
Okay.
I mean, we're going to new countries every year, which is killer for a band like us, because new places and harder to get to places are kind of like what keeps it really new and really kind of scary, you know?
It's a good point. You know, it's not going to get stale that way. And do you find
Right.
you play songs differently live when you're traveling? Like, you know, hey, we're playing in Australia now. Maybe we play this track a little bit different. I mean, do you ever change that, or is it the same?
No, the music is always kind of the same. I think it's different because it's going to be in a festival setting. We're playing like side shows out there too, which are like club shows.
Yeah.
And I do feel like club shows I get into more. You know, there's like but the difference is, I mean, at the festival there's thousands of people, but it's so like it's kind of disconnected. You know,
Right.
there's that barrier,
Yeah.
10 feet, and then there's I don't know. I still love it. It's huge. It's cool, but for me, I love just a packed, sweaty club with like 200-300 kids. They're just stoked. That's my favorite way to see a band too. I'd rather see a
Yeah.
band
Absolutely.
in a small venue than like the Warped Tour, you know?
Yep.
And that's actually bringing up the idea of what we were thinking about. When we talk to bands who are on the Warped Tour, one of the things that we always talk about is how difficult it is to narrow down a set list for the small window of time you have on stage. What is the most important thing to you when you're trying to narrow down a set list for your fans when you're playing such an abbreviated show?
God, that really does suck. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we're used to playing 45 minutes to an hour, and some of these sets we have 30 minutes. I think the most important thing for a band to remember is like not to play like the band's favorite songs.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
When Chris joined the band, because he had this thing that he'd always say, like, no one gives a about the new songs. Like, they don't. Just play what people want to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, because a lot of bands, like, because I know I want to play the new song I just wrote that I'm super into, or like the technical song on the record that was my favorite, and I know people probably weren't stoked on, but it's like, okay, just play the good ones, and just put your aside,
But
Right.
you've got to get them hooked somehow as well, right? Like, maybe they don't know the song clearly, so if they hear it, maybe they will love it. It might be their favorite. Because I know me, when I hear like singles off an album and I get the entire album, I'm like, you know what, the single's dope, but it's not my favorite song on the album. Like,
Right,
I
yeah.
like track 9 so much better, or something like that. So isn't it important to expose your fans to that as well?
Yeah, then see, that's how I always think. I'm always like, oh man, let's
Good
play
man.
this one. Like, we never play this one. Like, come on, dude. So I at least I'm the singer, so I get to like sneak one of my favorite babies in there.
That's a good point. We're gonna play this one next. What? Yeah, we're gonna play it anyway.
I do that all the time. The guys get so bummed.
And,
I'll have the set list written, and then I'll just go into one, and everyone's looking like, oh, dude, here he goes again.
Nice.
and I guess that's one of the joys of punk music as well. Typically, punk songs tend to be a little shorter because they're so
Yeah.
high energy and so quicker, I guess you would say, in terms of the velocity, that I guess you can probably fit more songs into a shorter abbreviated set list than, like, for instance, a prog rock band that,
play
each
2
song
tracks.
is 8 hours long.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. You could see Tool, and they would play 3 songs, and we could probably play
Right,
12.
exactly.
Very good point. Yeah.
Good
Now-
choice, by the way, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Tool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get as many in. But now, I'm a guitar player myself, not a great one by any stretch of the imagination. But one thing that bothers me is when people say that punk players aren't good guitarists. They're like, oh, they just play they play like 3 power chords and that's it. Not true.
Not at all.
Help dispel that myth, please. Donald, go.
Well, I think, there are some really fun, like, Masked Intruder, like,
Yes.
really cool, like, kind of surfy pop punk bands,
Yep.
and, like, Teenage Bottle Rocket, who, have, like, these simple guitar parts, but,
Yeah,
I mean,
good friends of the show, yeah.
they're still freaking awesome.
They
but
are.
then, like, there's dudes like Strung Out and
Mm-hmm.
Lagwagon, who are, like, pretty much, they're punk dudes that grew up on metal.
Yeah.
And those are the dudes that just melt your freaking face. Like Bayside, oh my God, that guy doesn't stop playing solo
Right?
even when Anthony's singing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Also friends of the show. Look at the roster we have.
Picking all the names out of all the guys we've had on the show.
I
Proof
know.
that we do get the good bands on the
Right?
show.
Just an all-star roster. What can I say? So, but you, I mean, do you continue to try to progress as a guitar player? Do you practice every day, or I mean, when you're I mean, I know you said that you're a songwriter, but when you're writing, guitar parts or somebody's writing them for you, do you think about let's move away from just some power chords? I mean, do you think what do you think when you're writing guitar?
Well, everything kind of starts on an acoustic and pretty simple,
Got
but yeah, we step it up and make it arranged for a full band. And I'm lucky because me and Chris we built a studio for ourselves. It's in the back of my house, and I have all the band's rig just in my backyard. So yeah,
Awesome.
I practice every day. Chris practices. I mean, it's not practice. It's just like I don't think of it like, oh, I'm going to go practice. It's like I'm just going to go play my favorite instruments and work.
What a great job.
Yeah, right. I agree. And here's another thing, too. I read in an interview that was done with you recently that you have the same mentality about music overseas, rock music being appreciated more overseas like I do. I firmly believe, like, I've always liked prog music anyway, even though it's a longer song. I like prog, I like punk. But I feel like the rock music isn't appreciated as much here in the States, and I see that in a previous interview you have said the same thing. What can we do to bring rock back to the forefront here in the States?
I think it's just kind of I don't know. Time just kind of repeats itself with music. I feel like during the '80s it was like everything was rock and roll. Everyone was this glam rock and roll band. And then that turned away. That turned into grunge, and then grunge turned into punk, and then it kind of turned into hip hop, and then pop were in the spotlight. So I feel like everything will get its chance because the music is a joke right now.
Yeah.
But I think it also has to do with, like, kids aren't really starting bands the way they used to. Like, when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was get in a van and tour. And it feels like now all that kids want to do is kind of get onto a reality show or, like, win a battle of the bands, and that's
Right.
how they think they're going to tour. It's very weird to me.
Yeah, if you don't go through the work, it's
Yeah.
not the same, right?
Yeah. But I think the only way to, I think it'll come back. It's just, it's got to be different. Because right now, like, Warped Tour bands it's like a merge between, like, dubstep and rock. Like, everything has to go through its evolution. And
Yeah.
obviously right now, this part of the evolution, I'm not really even paying attention to. I'm so, like, I feel like I'm above it. It's so terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, you have to think it's going to come around. So I hope it will.
Now, if you want to see these guys live, again, we always talk about this, and Donna, you've already talked about it. Music is meant to be experienced, not just heard. Go see them live. It will melt your face off. I haven't had the chance to do it. I know, Colonel, neither of you, but hopefully soon. We probably won't make it to
Absolutely,
Australia, but if you're in Australia, go
could
check
try.
them out. Yeah, I mean, they're all around California as well. Their home state there, and Drink, Sing, Live, Love came out last year. When can we expect a new album? You're always out playing, the guitar in your backyard. Do you have some songs ready to go?
Yeah, I do. I have about, well, the thing is you got to write, for like a 12 or 13 song record, you got to have about 20 songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm about halfway there. We're going to go to Australia,
Nice.
then Europe, and then we're going to do a U.S. tour, and then we're home for a little while before we go back to Japan. So I think that we'll probably put a record out. That one came out last July. So yeah, we'll probably start recording in fall of 2013.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, it was as soon as we dig our heels in after, because we have to try to support this record for, I would say, at least a year and a half,
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, we're always writing just because I feel like all bands, like, you're just bored if you just don't write until you come home. Like, I think everyone's always kind of creating, even if you don't mean to.
Is it something that kind of passed the time while you're on the road to help connect you back to the end game?
Well, yeah, maybe I can't speak for other bands, but I know me and Chris, when we're getting ready, we're just back there playing guitar and drinking beers, and yeah, we have good chemistry, me and Chris. So I think it just happens very naturally for us. We're just always writing.
It comes through in the music because, to be
It
honest
does.
with you, a band with good chemistry is going to pick up and put out better music more than a band of just guys that kind of are there for the paycheck, if you will.
Like Puddle of Mud.
I wasn't going to name any names or anything, but
Wes Scanlon's
I
not
heard
listening.
that. That was good.
Yeah, thanks. Scanlon's in prison, I think, right now. Anyway, he's not
yeah.
listening to this. Don't
I'm
worry
I'm
about it.
surprised you didn't go for the name we normally pull out when we talk about that.
Well, it's not
the
throw people
name
under
that
the bus.
we shall not name.
Yeah, but again, versustheworld.com, check them out on there. Now, Donald, if you knew you only had time to listen to one more song in your life, you can listen to it, you can perform it, it can be yours or anybody else's. What's the last song that you want to hear?
And then I'm dead after the song?
Yeah,
Oh, The Decline. I want a good half an hour before I'm dead.
good call. Smart man. Smart man.
Prog rock it is. Also, finally, you guys are going to be in Australia, obviously, for Soundwave. What are we looking at for a U.S. tour? When can we find that as a timeline, and especially East Coast? We want to know when the East Coast dates are coming up.
Let's see. I have my timeline. I think it's June and July is what our deal is.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, I can't announce this because it's we
course.
haven't. We're just in talks with the band, so
Right.
we haven't confirmed it. But yeah, we're going to be out there. if I remember my email right, yeah, we're starting. We'll be out on tour from June 1st to the end of July. So 2 months. We're going to start in California, then we're going to make our way, and I believe our last show is in Buffalo. So
Oh, okay. Hopefully you come our way. We're looking
Yeah.
forward to D.C. or something like that.
The only good
Philly.
thing in Buffalo is sure as heck isn't the Bills. Tell you
Oh,
that.
it's
Sorry.
weird. We always have good shows in Buffalo. It's
Buffalo's a good rock
No,
town.
it is a
dude.
good rock
It
town.
is.
Yeah,
It really
stems
is.
from
Yeah.
there. I mean, yeah, I've just said they're not very good at football, but
No, they're
everything
not.
else, everything else.
every time I die is from there too. I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and another good band. Good call.
You guys
We
are
like the way you
monsters. I
think.
love
man.
them.
Yeah, we got to hang out and just listen to music sometime, man.
Right?
I dig what you're saying there. I got to tell you. But
All right, I'll take a day off when we play New York, and we'll cruise.
I'm in.
Sounds
Hell yeah,
good.
let's do it. Again, Versus the World. Check them out, and a new album coming early next year, it sounds like, and the one that's out right now. So again, check them out. Go to Australia, go to California, wherever you can, and see them. Amazing, amazing band, and we are true fans. We appreciate it again, Donald. Be back here in a few minutes on Across the Board. I'm E. He's the Colonel. This is HawkRadio.org.
And acrosstheboardradio.com.